Bible Lessons Daily. Ancient truth for modern life.
Thousands of years ago, in the ancient land of Uz, lived a man named Job. By every measure of his society, Job was flawless. He steered clear of evil, honored God, and earned a reputation as the greatest man among all the people of the East. Job commanded an empire of livestock that positioned him at the peak of the ancient world. This chart shows the scale: 7,000 sheep, 3,000 camels, 500 oxen, and 500 donkeys. Along with a large household of 10 children, Job possessed the highest level of status possible in his era. In the ancient world, people relied on the retribution principle. The logic was simple: good behavior earns divine blessing, and bad behavior earns a curse. Look at how this chart becomes a cosmic receipt. Every sheep and every healthy child was viewed as direct payment for Job's spotless moral record. Do good, get paid. But the narrative shifts away from earth and enters a heavenly courtroom, where an accuser named Satan presents a cynical challenge. He argues that Job only acts righteously because God essentially pays him with a comfortable life. Remove the wealth, the accuser claims, and Job will curse God to his face. This wager establishes a brutal philosophical dilemma. If we only do good to guarantee our own success, then human faith is simply a bribe. The only way to find out what truly anchors a person's character is to see what happens when the payoff disappears. On an entirely ordinary day, Job's security evaporates. A messenger runs in, gasping that Sabean raiders have slaughtered the servants and stolen the oxen. Before he even finishes speaking, a second messenger arrives. Fire from the sky has incinerated all 7,000 sheep. A third messenger bursts through the door. Chaldean raiding parties have swept down and taken all 3,000 camels. Then comes the final devastating blow. A fourth servant arrives to report that a sudden, massive desert wind struck the oldest brother's house. The roof collapsed, and all 10 of Job's children are dead. The sheer velocity of the destruction leaves no time to process. In the span of a few minutes, Job is stripped of his empire, his entire livelihood, and the children he loved. The physical security he spent a lifetime building is gone. Job stands up. He tears his robe and shaves his head in deep mourning. Yet he falls to the ground in worship, saying, "Naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked I will depart. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away." Job refuses to curse his Creator. By maintaining his integrity when the benefits vanish, he proves his devotion was never a mere transaction for wealth. But the accuser is not finished. Satan returns to the heavenly courtroom with a darker, more cynical claim. Skin for skin, he argues. A man will surrender his wealth and even his family if it means saving his own life. The true test requires striking his flesh and bones. Instantly, agonizing boils break out across Job's entire body. The pain is absolute. Blistering sores cover him from the soles of his feet to the top of his head. Unrecognizable and humiliated, Job wanders to the city's edge to sit in the ash dump, using a broken piece of pottery to scrape at his skin for any fleeting relief. His wife, hollowed out by her own massive grief, looks at the ruined man and pleads with him. "Are you still holding on to your integrity? Curse God and die." Job looks back with steady sorrow, asking her, "Shall we accept good from God and not also accept trouble?" Job now possesses absolutely nothing. His wealth is ashes, his family is buried, his body a prison of pain. Human endurance is pushed to its absolute physical and emotional limit. 3 of Job's friends, Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar, travel from their homes to comfort him. When they see him from a distance, they weep aloud. They sit on the ground with him for 7 days and 7 nights, in complete, total silence, overwhelmed by the sheer scale of his grief. Finally, the silence breaks, and Job's endurance cracks. He curses the very day he was born. He agonizes over why he didn't perish in the womb, wishing he never existed so he wouldn't have to experience this unexplainable sorrow. Hearing this despair, his friends transition from comforters to judges. Bound to their belief in cosmic karma, they argue that innocent people do not suffer like this. To them, the math is simple. Extreme punishment requires extreme guilt. They insist Job must be hiding a wicked secret sin. Job fires back with fierce defiance. He knows his heart and refuses to invent a lie just to satisfy his friend's theology. He demands an audience with the Almighty, shouting that God is acting as an unfair judge, crushing him for no reason while hiding in the silence. The debate exposes a massive flaw in human logic. Simple karma fails entirely to explain the reality of unjust suffering. The rigid formulas of his friends offer no comfort, leaving Job alone in the ashes, screaming into the void for an answer. Then, breaking the silence, the Almighty finally answers. God speaks directly to Job from the center of a terrifying, crackling storm. God does not explain the heavenly wager. He doesn't offer a clean, itemized list of reasons for Job's pain. Instead, he cross-examines Job with a barrage of unanswerable questions about the deep architecture of the cosmos. "Where were you when I laid the foundation of the earth?" God asks. He paints a picture of extreme power, detailing how he commands the morning, guides the stars, and feeds the ravens. He points to untamable monsters of the deep like the Leviathan, asking Job if he can pull the colossal creature in with a simple hook. Faced with the raw scale of creation, Job is humbled. Realizing that his human perspective is infinitely small, he covers his mouth. He acknowledges God's limitless wisdom, takes back his accusations, and drops his case against his Creator. Job never gets the why of his suffering. He finds peace not through a direct explanation of his pain, but by recognizing his place within a vast divine wisdom that he cannot possibly comprehend. God then turns to Eliphaz and the other friends, rebuking them sharply for speaking falsely about him with their neat transactional theology. He commands them to offer a sacrifice while Job prays for them. After Job forgives and prays for his friends, God restores his fortunes, giving him double his previous wealth, 10 more children, and a long life of 140 years. The accuser's strategy remains unchanged. He still frames faith as a transaction, whispering that our pain is proof that God has left us, or that we have committed some hidden sin that deserves this outcome. In this framework, the figure of Jesus serves as the advocate, the defense Job was screaming for. He does not demand a bribe for a pain-free life. Instead, he uses his own scars to silence the accuser and offer the protection Job sought throughout his trial. Being faithful does not guarantee an easy life. Tragedies occur, and the reasons often remain hidden behind the curtain of heaven. When they happen, feeling angry, hurt, and confused is a normal reliance on comfortable transactions, forging an unbreakable trust. It reminds us that even in the darkest, most confusing storms, we are never truly abandoned.
What lesson spoke to your heart today? Tell us in the comments, and subscribe for daily Bible wisdom.